Ah! Ah! I have to stop procrastinating. We're going. I'm just starting. We're going. Video games. Alright. I've had so much inertia today where I just don't want to fucking start or get anything. I'm just like, ugh. I don't know why. I just feel like it's like, I don't know, I'm not quite ready yet. I don't know, just a little more. I'm not even like, I'm not like playing a video game or like watching videos. I'm just kind of like somehow wasting my day continuously instead of recording and like, no, just fucking start. It's agony when you're like, oh crap, time is just slipping away in real time. And it's like, I have like, I want to get this many videos done, starting, and if I start at this time and I work continuously, I can get it done by that time, and then I'll be ahead of schedule instead of behind schedule. But then I'm just like, yeah, just, why aren't I starting? You thought those things hours ago. It's hours later. What are you doing? What did you even do with your time? Jesus. Working from home's weird sometimes. It can be weird working from home, and dealing with some of those aspects. What is that? Can't reach up at it with that. Nope. Oh. Makes a platform. Does that thing break? Yep. It only lasts for a bit. I imagine this is more intuitive, or more useful without the cutscene after the first time. Let's see. Ah, it's like a gem of water, or a pearl of water. It looks weird. Can I hit myself with it? Is that a good idea? It probably doesn't do much. Yeah, if you ever talk about self-employment and stuff, if you're thinking about making this shift, not necessarily YouTube, but just self-employment in general, definitely think about how good you are at managing your time. There's an interesting point to be made about, like, when you have a retail job, or like a job where you work with your hands, but, you know, like, really, I don't know, any job where somebody else is your boss. If you have set hours, once you lose having set hours, you do kind of miss that. Is there anything else to do over here before I go across? I definitely like what I do. It's just overall pretty nice, but it is an experience getting used to the idea that you just don't have set hours. You don't work from this hour to that hour necessarily. You can like thank you, motorcycle. You can like come up with a plan. It's like, aha, I'm very regimented and I wake up at 8 a.m. every day and then I eat breakfast and then like my recording schedule will be from this hour to that hour and that is when it is. And then the moment that the bell rings, blah blah blah, I am now no longer working and I'm in not work mode. And some people have had luck with that kind of stuff, but a lot of people just kind of get stuck in an infinite trap of like, I'm always working and always not working, and there's no separation, the work-life balance topic. Ow! That doesn't work. I have to wait for the bridge part. Okay. I definitely have my aspect of like, aha, this is how many videos I need to get done in a given day. That can reasonably be done within from this time to this time, and that should be very manageable. But then I have like days where I'm like, what have I done? Because when reality happens, you're like, oh god, time is not a resource that you like choose to spend. It just spends itself as if by magic. And you're like, you bastard, I had plans today. You fucked it up by being time. Looks like fire doesn't take, wait, no, I grabbed hearts, so I don't know. I was about to say that maybe the fire doesn't do damage anymore, but it's hard to say because I was grabbing hearts. Oopsie. Pressed the wrong button to cancel. And adjusted my glasses. I haven't had a chance to try them because there's not a VR thing on the schedule and I've been busy, but I did just get the VR prescription lenses to put on my VR goggles, so hopefully those work out. That'll be nice to not have to wear glasses under my VR set. That was a mistake. All right, I did it. I did it. As far as why you get inertia, I don't know. I'm using inertia the opposite of how people often use it, because they often use inertia to mean like how fast you're going. But inertia also applies to how difficult it can be to start moving, and you feel it. You feel that inertia sometimes when you're starting. And I think some of that might just be like the performance aspect of like, I have to be going, and I have to be going live. We have to go. Like, there might be less pressure if I was doing, like, voiceover for something, because it's just like, oh, it's not live, so, like, I'll just give it a go, and, that wasn't good. I'll just start over. And then you can just keep going, so there's not like the, okay, I'm ready to start. But there's a weird aspect to doing, like, live commentary. Even it's not live in that it's not a live stream, but it's live in that it's not scripted, and it will largely not be changed in post, because that's the point. Is it's just whatever comes out. And that stresses people out sometimes. There's like the imposter syndrome aspect, but there's also elements of like what sometimes people refer to as like I talk about like the weird nightmare scenario of like, what if I just wake up tomorrow and like there's nothing here, right? This part's pretty linear, so it's very podcast friendly. Because of the fact that I just fucking do like 2 to 4 or 5 hours of live commentary every day and just go somehow, which is the thing that it's like I just kind of got here somehow over time by, oh, those are vines, by just doing it for so long that it sort of just comes naturally, I guess, and then people tell me they like it apparently. But like, because of like that's such an unmeasurable, bizarre thing, and it's always live, there's always this aspect of like this fear that I will wake up tomorrow and I will just like have forgotten how to do this. Like I'll start a video for live commentary and then nothing will come out, which I experienced a little bit earlier in this playthrough when the election was happening. I was like, I'm just not in the emotional place to like, let's play. That just happens apparently. Shit. Ho ho ho. Ah, the exit at last. You are the hairiest magma. Whoa. Don't scare me like that. I thought you were one of those monster creeps. Oh, hey, what's this? You got yourself a swanky pair of digging mitts, don't ya? Who are you anyway? What you doing here? I'm on a quest. I getcha. Huh? Me? Oh yeah, the name's Gold. I'm the big boss of the Magmas. Those digging mitts you got right there, I invented them. Ha ha! No offense, pal, but you don't look like the kind of guy I'd send in here on a treasure hunting mission. What do I know? You might just surprise me. So here's the deal. Word in the tunnels is there's a huge treasure hidden in these here ruins. But nobody who's ever seen it has come back to tell the tale. Countless treasure hunters have disappeared in here. Poof, gone. As a treasure digger, I gotta warn you to just turn around and enjoy the many peaceful years of digging left to you, but you're gonna do this no matter what I say, aren't you? Pretty much. Alright then, I'm gonna let you in on an ancient treasure hunting legend passed down among generations of magmas. Every magma worth a handful of dirt knows this one. Here you go. Ye who seek the entrance to the king's treasure, look for the 2 statues that face one another. Show your bravery and jump into the mouth of the sleeping statue. Do this and the path will open before you. You remember all that, and you're golden. Some of the guys are searching around here for the treasure. If you get lost, just holler at one of them. Well, There's more Mogmas around. I want to meet them all. Yeah, I don't think I missed any, like, any holes or anything. That was a really quick, kind of linear sequence. I guess they just wanted to introduce this mechanic in a controlled environment so you understand that you can ride it, and that you might be attacked while doing it, and that'll probably come up more. The opening chamber is often kind of an intro for a dungeon that introduces a mechanic and won't let you through till you execute it correctly. That's more sky than I expected. I was expecting lava rivers. There's one. Aha! It looks like a golden key! That's funny. They're being cute with it, and this time the key looks like a key, at least in silhouette. Looks like it's probably a callback to old keys in old games. I don't know if the keys look like that in Zelda necessarily. I don't remember the visuals of the original 2Ds that well because I barely, if ever, played them. But it almost looks like something from like Adventure, maybe? The original? I don't know, did Adventure have graphics that good, or were even keys just like a box? I think keys were vaguely key-shaped in Adventure. Adventure being the OG Ghirahim. I think it was called Adventure. It was like the... God, it's I think it's even older than Zelda, and kind of was like the template for the very idea of action adventure games, kind of. I don't know, it was very rudimentary. Maybe I should play that someday. I feel like I've like spent like 10 minutes with it before somewhere. I don't remember how. Huh. I kind of thought it might, like, water the plants or something. That looks dangerous in there. But yeah, self-employment can be a time vampire. Because you can have, like, stuff that on paper takes X number of hours. But you can spend way less time than that in that kind of, like... I guess people are familiar with this feeling because it's the same feeling you have when you're like, I'm not going to let myself do anything until I do my homework when you're in school, like high school and college and so on. It's like, I need to get that done, so I won't let myself watch any shows or play any video games until I get it done. But then instead of immediately starting said thing, you'll kind of like waste the whole day not doing your homework, but also not doing any of the fun things you would want to do instead. So like you would literally have been better off saying fuck my homework and just having fun for the day, and then suffering the consequences of having procrastinated than you did for trying to do the right thing by limiting yourself. Like sometimes that can be the trap. This is funny. I'm tempted to apply terminology here. I don't know, I think that the more media you consume, and if you're doing like content stuff like I do, you like start coming up with terminology, and you also adapt other people's terminology. Like I think of like the big-lipped alligator moment, which was created by Lindsay Ellis, was just this idea of like when you're watching an animated show or something else where just like something really extravagant and showy and time-wasty happens, like a song that doesn't further the plot, and it's by a character you'll never see again, and so on. Just like a weird, fucking strange filler moment in the middle of a movie. And then, like, I talk about the Hanna-Barbera effect a lot. So I guess that's my accidentally coined term, which is when everything looks really static and unmoving, and then one thing really stands out as something that's going to clearly be animated and different from everything around it. And it'll just... and then you're like, wow, I can't wait to see that thing move, and then it moves, you're like, wow, what a surprise. which comes from the fact that like in old Scooby-Doo cartoons and whatnot, everything would be like this hand-painted, darkly colored, highly detailed painting, and then they would draw the animations over that on like a separate layer because it's the animation cells, and those were brightly colored and they were simpler looking because they had to be animated. And like you'd have like a row of pots, for example, that are all dark and painted and beautiful and rendered well, and then one cartoon pot would be on that shelf, and you're like, all right, well that pot's gonna fall over and break, and then the pot falls over and breaks because it was the one that was ready to be animated. And it's not exactly the same in video games, but video games have moments like that. You're like, oh, that thing moves. I can see something about that. That's like my accidental term. But what's coming to mind right now, and I'm thinking about this because we're looking at this big fire area again. But it's the monkey destruction switch, which to use somebody else's term, which may or not have been intended as a term, but it's by Stormdane Productions in his review of Sonic Adventure. And there's a part where you, for everyone who's ever played Sonic Adventure, there's a part in you have to unlock each individual level by playing this weird time-wasty overworld that's not very well made. And at one point you dig into some dirt and you get a monkey destruction switch as Knuckles. Then you take that monkey destruction switch across the map and you take it up to a monkey in a cage that's by a door for some reason, and then it blows up that monkey, and then the door opens, and then the monkey destruction switch is never seen again in that game, ever. It's just gone. And you're like, okay. And like, that's these earrings! These fucking earrings! There was one fucking room I couldn't get through without the earrings. And now, I got the earrings. And so that solved that one problem. And that's that entire item. It's so underwhelming. It's like, that's this game's monkey destruction switch. Like, technically, you look at all this lava shit here, and it's like, I wouldn't be able to survive here without my monkey destruction switch. But functionally, because this area was entirely inaccessible anyway, I'm not like really experiencing the fact that my earrings are protecting me from this. In fact, while the particle effect of the danger air is here, it's entirely possible that Nintendo didn't even program this area to check if I have earrings or not, because the earrings were a gate for whether or not I can even get here. So like, I'm pausing here to talk about this because I think that's a mid-boss down there or something. Something's gonna happen there, clearly. So I'm just giving us a moment to discuss this before I get interrupted. People ask, why do you stop moving and talk sometimes, but people will also be annoyed if I keep starting the same thought over and over again and getting interrupted over and over again about the game, and so on. I don't know. This is my format. I've been doing it for years. At some point, if you don't like it, you've had a lot of warnings, because it's how I've been doing it forever. But I don't know, we'd have to see like a speedrunner, right? Because I bet you, it depends on whether there's a specific skip, but if there's a speedrunner strat to skip into here somehow without the earrings, then we would learn, as a matter of fact, whether or not this is all damage air that hurts you for not having the earrings, or if it doesn't. And I would bet that it doesn't hurt you, because why even bother implementing that mechanic if it's impossible to get in here without the earrings, minus speedrun glitch nonsense, basically. So it really is a monkey destruction switch moment, because normally, when there's some kind of Metroidvania mechanic, like, oh, I can turn into mist. It's like, oh wow, now I'm thinking back like, wow, where were all those moments and places all throughout the campaign where there was like a grate that I could get through if I could turn into mist now? Like in Castlevania. Like, usually there's a bunch of locations across the map where you can go back and use that new ability you have. And like when you get the hook shot, suddenly you can use all those like target sign hook spots and the more subtle vines everywhere to get a bunch of stuff that you couldn't get to before. But unless I'm forgetting something, I think this room's too hot for you just isn't a thing in this room, in this game. Like there's no like burning questions like, oh man, when am I gonna get that chest in that overworld or whatever the fuck. It's just like, it was just access to this dungeon and nothing else, which makes it a really underwhelming item that seems kind of cooler, but is kind of just isn't. The only other thing I think it does is just, if keys are on fire or an arrow's on fire, then the fire damage it normally would do to you is either removed or lessened. That's the amazing effect of this thing, which is like one of the most boring effects you could possibly have. And so I think that qualifies as a monkey destruction switch. which you might hear me say more in the future. I think I've said it in the past, but I haven't said it in this playthrough, and it was definitely the applicable thing there. It's not really like, and that's why this game's bad. It's just, and that's why that particular item is underwhelming. And I guess to some extent all the trials are kind of underwhelming. Swimming was neat. Swimming was a good thing to get, but like also like one of the other trials give us claw shots? Like, considering what the other two items are that we got, this one doesn't even fit because it's a completely different category of item. So like, it kind of does feel like they just had X number of powers that they wanted to get in the game, and this is just where they dumped the last few of them. Like, 2 of them are required to continue in a very obvious way, and then this one's like a different category altogether. It's weird. Anyway. Come get me. Oh, it's a whole hand. Oh, it's a whole hand. Oh, it's a give him a hand. Okay, okay. Hey, buddy. I think I know what's going on here. Huh. That was. Let's see what's over here real quick. Can I walk in here? Nope. Am I gonna get the power to walk on lava in this dungeon? Oh, shit. This only works if it's not already up. We can actually debate when something's a monkey destruction switch a little bit. Because admittedly, it kind of requires a certain level of like hype, I guess. Like, it's essentially like when it's the equivalent of like when you get the blue key card, but there's only one blue door in the entire game. So the blue key card works for one door. But you don't think about key cards and keys that much. Like, you're like, oh, okay, it opens that door. Like, it has a clear one-to-one purpose. And that's just the one thing it does. Instead... Let's see. Nothing over there. We're gonna have to take you out, because you're gonna shoot me while I'm trying to go here. But no, I think it's a monkey destruction switch when the item itself is just, it's too specific, and it's kind of too hyped up, and the implementation of the thing makes you feel like, oh, here's a new mechanic, and then it turns out to just kind of not be that. Like, there's a real specificity to this, because if you get a key card or a key, then you're like, oh, this opens a door. So you don't expect it to do more, necessarily. So it's not weird when it doesn't. But when you get a monkey destruction switch, and it's functionally just a key to one door and nothing else, then you're like, why did they make that? Like, they could have just given me a key, which probably already existed in that game in some way, but they specifically gave me a monkey destruction switch. And I'm like, what? Did they have larger plans for that at some point? Because, like, a monkey destruction switch specifically stinks of, like, cut content. It's this idea that, like, oh, there must have been a point where there was supposed to be more times this came up, right? And then they cut them all. But the mechanic is still there, and it's just kind of like a dreg of a different game that was planned at one point that just isn't the same one that you ultimately got when you got to play this. Like, when you see something like the fire earrings, you're like, oh, I wonder how many times that might have been important at some point in a different version of this game. But then the reality comes in and you're like, oh. Yeah, let's go through that one room. Okay. Yeah. Wow, wow, wow! Oh, he's still alive. That was weird. Did the whole wow, wow, wow death sound, and then he was still alive. Ba-doop-ba-doop. Now I kind of want to make a monkey destruction switch like collection. It's way more work than like an image. I keep wanting to do different collections. Like I have my basalt column gallery, but I kind of want to have like a quarry gallery, like stone quarries, because that's a similar trope. Because it's like it's big, blocky, chunky terrain, and it's eye-catching, but also kind of easy to model. So you put in like Fallout 4 and Control. Sort of start collecting those for a bit. But then even harder, Hanna-Barbera effect gallery. You'd have to have GIFs in that one to express to like it'd be a multi-image thing for each individual example, plus a GIF to show the thing. And then a monkey destruction switch would just basically be a blog. Like you'd have to explain each one. Or you could just show the one item, I guess, and then just people in the know are like, yep, it sure does that one thing. And then never comes up again. These are fun ideas. I like thinking about these things. The very existence of these things is not instantly like, ah, that's why the game's bad, or anything silly like that. It's just, they're just funny. It's like the basalt column thing. Like, it's not necessarily a judgment of a game just because it has basalt columns. I like basalt columns. I was excited the first time I saw one. It's just really funny how common they are at some point. And then, like, yeah, the implementations of that particular trope, which I think we can comfortably call a trope at this point now, just because... Ah! Dick. Stop, drop, and roll the darkness out. Oh, right, it's a curse. That's what that is. I didn't have to see him. I'm just like, I know where you are. I can do this. But yeah, there are definitely like cases where the basalt columns are beautiful and well implemented, and they complement everything. And then there's other times where they're really distracting because it's like they are the one thing. I'm getting increasingly iffy on games where there's just a basalt column level, where just the entire level is just basalt columns, be they basalt or not basalt. Just the entire level is just columns, like hexagonal columns of different height. It's like, all right, kind of feel like you skipped on doing a real design for this level. Oh, I missed the roops. I missed all the roops. There's a guy. I'll fuck him up. There's a few of these guys. Like, well implemented in the environment, it can look cool. And it's very clearly a trope. Can't get it in time. It's very clearly a trope that people like to use whenever can I get around here without being in trouble? Whenever you're like fuck. It's just way harder on that side. Whenever you're like in an otherworldly space, like a Lovecraftian nightmare, or a dream, or an alternate universe where you level up your characters or talk to God or something, those often feature, can I blow this up or something and get more sunlight? Nope. Those often feature some variation of, a column universe, or columns reign supreme. That's really a case-by-case thing, whether it looks cool or not. Like that concept art for the game Valorant, where there's like a truck and like an explosion of basalt columns used as like a physical attack against the environment. Like it looks like it was like a terrorism happened there, but the terrorism was basalt columns. Like those kinds of things can be actually really neat looking. Always points for uniqueness. It'll always be really hilarious to me that Deus Ex Mankind Divided just has a bar where the facade of the building is basalt columns. Like fake basalt columns. That's fucking hilarious. It's like a meta joke designed just for me because I was thinking about exactly that. And God, how will I ever hit these guys? There we go. I feel like those were gonna attack me eventually or something, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Like that was so, that like made me feel rewarded for paying too much attention to these particular trends. Is that a game straight up like had a joke about it practically, or what felt like a joke? It's like a joke that only I get, and the people that watch my videos, because everybody else wouldn't even register that. They wouldn't even, they would see a building with that facade and just be like, huh. Or in the cityscape, they wouldn't even stop and look at it specifically and would just like, just not even pay additional attention to it and not even register that it was there in the first place. But specifically for me, it's like, oh my fucking god, this is actually kind of the funniest thing I've seen in a while. It would be funny to see, it'd be really funny if the, oh, this one doesn't flow. It would be pretty funny to like talk to the developer or something. I bet that if I bust that out, it might make the flow happen. Okay. That's what I was wondering. It felt like not enough happened with this beetle. Now I know why. I was supposed to do this. Yeah. It'd be really fun to talk to the level designer of that particular game, or the artist or whatever, and find out that they have like their own obsessive collection of images because they've also been— No, I accidentally sort of bumped B. Shit. Alright, let's start over. It'd be really fun to find out that they have their own like similar collection of images because they also see this trend and they were actually commenting on it silently. Over at Squeenix. Did I say Ubisoft? Squeenix. It's Square Enix. Well, they're the publishers. I actually don't remember the name of the developers of Deus Ex right now. Alright. This is a podcasty episode, apparently. Ba-doop, ba-doop. But so far, it's a pretty linear level, so I'm not super concerned. There's not a ton to commentate on. The dungeon is kind of like, this is neat. It's fine. I'm not blowing my socks off though, and I'm not exactly having to puzzle that hard about how to proceed. So I can kind of like automate through here and talk about things. Hey, buddy, you— oh. I don't think that they can go in the lava. I think it goes badly for them. What a place to keep a box. This is one of our very few chances to see what they look like, actually. They have like it's like I figured from the get-go. They have like tiny stubby legs, and they've got like a beaver tail, which is a little weird. These guys are neat though. I hope they show up in like Breath of the Wild 2 or something, or whatever the sequel is called, just because I want to see like these guys show up in more Zeldas in the future. Because they lean too heavily on like doing the Rito and the Zora and the Gorons over and over again. It's like if you go on, like it's kind of cool this one actually went and made new ones. But I guess it's like an advanced prequel. Like it's before everything. Like earlier I had the thought, like he's like, you don't look like an adventurer to me, and I was like, have you not heard of the Hero of Time? And I'm like, he hasn't, because this game takes place before every other Zelda, I think, or it's sort of super early, so my character isn't such a legend as a concept that some people have heard of or whatever. Yeah. So it'd be a little sad to find out like some great tragedy happened that killed all the Magmas, and that's why they're not in any of the other games. Because when you add a new cool race to your series, and then that game's a prequel to all the other games, you're like, uh-oh. It's like when you're watching Better Call Saul, and you're like, wow, you're like this Kim character who is not in Breaking Bad. Hope that works out. Hope that doesn't go as bad as it sounds like it will. Seeing them wearing their gear is interesting. They, there's something about the gold line down the middle in particular, and there's also like the I think it's being amplified by the rattling sound I'm hearing right now, but I guess the rattling sound is probably from the chain. But it reminds me of Christmas, which is actually coming up here. We're on our way to Christmas right now. But they look like reindeer. It looks like a reindeer harness, doesn't it? Like they don't wear clothes, really. They just kind of have a harness. And the harness specifically has this like gold thread through it with like a, there's like a circle every now and then. That's hard to see from here. But it looks like how like the Santa's reindeer have like harnesses that have bells on them. And so it kind of looks like that overall visual. Their design is fucking great. Like you can just imagine, like once if they're ever not in the ground, they would probably either stand on their tail or their hands. So they probably don't even really use their feet for as legs. They probably like just use them to kick or something when they're like navigating their tunnels, but they probably don't use them that much, which is why they're like super atrophied and tiny and kind of hilarious looking. Meanwhile, their top half is they're just fucking yoked. Like they're built as shit with these tiny vestigial legs. It's like the physical implementation of like the leg day joke. I think we saw the that mini game Minesweeper, that confusing Minesweeper, because the mechanics were slightly off in ways that were off-putting to me. Because that guy stood on his tail, right? What a fucking place to put the cargo, right? Like, part of it's on their back harness. Like, that makes sense. Okay, I can buy that. Although, like, admittedly, it might make tunneling really hard because it protrudes like crazy. But at the same time, the other piece of cargo is on his crotch, which seems really uncomfortable for several reasons, including, like, the fact that his legs have to, like, be wrapped around it, because it looks like it's wider than his, like, hips are. So it's, like, in the way of his legs. So it's like rough for a number of reasons. But on some level, because they tunnel, the one by his legs almost makes more sense, because it at least fits within the profile of his body. Because if you look at it, he's really thick and chunky around the shoulders. That's his widest point, and he tunnels. So the tunnel has to be as wide as his shoulders and as thick as his chest and everything for him to fit through, with some wiggle room so that his like arms can move and all that. So like conceptually, the tunnel has to be about as thick in circumference as the distance from his shoulder to his elbow, at least, in order for him to be able to move his arms in full motion, to be able to dig and move and all that. And that's a pretty long chunk of arm. But what really fucks that up is having a giant box on your back, because that means that now the tunnel has to be the size of the top of that box all the way down to the bottom of your elbow, when that elbow is extended in the opposite direction of the box, which is practically tall enough for him to be standing up in, which is a lot of digging. So when you think about it, the crotch box makes sense because his hips and everything are so much smaller that it actually, he can fit a box there within the shape of like what is like his dog chest, like that way that dogs have like a big chunky. Dogs are weird shaped, like their belly is super narrow and trim, and then their chest and their rib cage sticks out like crazy. So it's like somebody it's like they identified that like negative space there as like a storage location and strapped a box there. And it's like his legs are probably scraping on it, but he's also probably not moving that fast because he's a tunneler anyway. I don't know. It's interesting to think about how their equipment simultaneously makes sense and doesn't make sense. Like, I was already kind of wondering what was up with the harness around their shoulders. I was questioning before, like, do they use that collaboratively? But now it looks like it's used to carry equipment. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. My previous theory made way more sense, which is that they're in tunnels and they can grip on each other. And it's like, you don't want to have to pull on people's like limbs and stuff, because like mammals aren't like ants. Like, it's a lot harder to like get a grip on different parts of like a body, the way that ants like link to each other to make their like nightmare nests and so on, or they form bridges with each other and so on. And also the alternative would be what, like pulling on their fur. It's like, that's not great either. But if they had the harness on their back, it's like, okay, there's like a spot you could grab then, and then you could like navigate past each other in tunnels, or pull each other out of like spots if they get stuck in a tunnel, because they'd be like cave-in threats. I don't know. I've thought too much about Magma Society. They're just kind of neat, and there's like questions I get about like the way they dress and things. But yeah, immediately I'm like, oh, I can see why the artist added a weird crotch box, but I'm confused by the back one that looks like a rocket launcher you put on the back of a mech. That stuff looks hot. I wouldn't mind a little hot bath for my sore shoulders, but this is too much. What do we got here? Another new guard? Ha! You can't break me with interrogation, son. You'll never make me talk. I'm not some sideshow for you to gawk at. Get lost. Shoo now. Aw. I was gawking at you for a long time, actually. He's having a miserable time. I'm guessing they're not lava resistant either, but they have... It's like, half of my powers and equipment are just me getting more magma-like. I can't even... I'm trying to look at the earrings, but it's hard. Like, I have the earrings which make me fire resistant, which he clearly is, because he doesn't have them. I don't think he has them, as far as I can tell. But he's fine here, and he has the same limitation of but lava bad that I do. And then I've got my digging claws. Like, just imagine how much easier this game if this was just... How much easier this game would be if Link just had Majora's Mask powers and just transformed into a magma. Just get all the powers in one go. Hope you enjoyed this extra long podcast heavy episode.